Boom,
Da,
shakalaka.
da, 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 da. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. And we are in, well, you guys are in store for a treat today. If I can get my words under me here, there's so much we have to talk about. And we have the original crew back together today. I mean, pretty much the crew that started it all. Other than you got to include Dylan in there. Dylan did some shows with us. You can't forget Dylan. But welcome. First off, joining us as always on our Wednesday night recap shows, we have Abraham live from who knows where. Abraham, how are you doing today?
Look, I am live from DC this week, so it's interesting to be in the Capitol and watching Survivor in the Capitol because they're making decisions on Survivor like they should be up here. But I'm here tonight.
Yes,
well, hey, repping Survivor Now in the Capitol, and we have none other than Will. He is back with Abraham and myself. Will, how are you doing today?
I've been living my best life. I'm a grown man at this point. I'm a college guy now, no longer a high school student. Doing the stock watches and Big Brother recaps with some fine folks. Glad to be here though, as a little guest.
I was gonna kind of throw that plug out there, saying like you can catch Will StockWatch and on the Big Brother Now podcast, and Will StockWatch. You guys are moving to a new time, right?
Yeah, so we're doing Friday nights now instead of Mondays. Way too late. Hopefully, I mean, catch us live there. We have great commentary. We really go in depth with edgix and stocks, and we talk a lot about nerd stuff. There's gonna be graphs. I now have an opinion on StockWatch because last season it was just like what Josh what he had for all the stuff. Sorry, I'm confusing my people.
Jack.
Yeah, there we go. I'm confusing for Jake on this season. Anywho, Jack and I now have differing opinions. If you hear us quarrel a lot from the fantasy recap or the fantasy draft and through the Big Brother drafts, you now get an hour and a half of us, talking about people, whether or not people are going to win, reading between the lines. It's all good stuff.
Fun.
Hey,
and Abraham,
I got to give Will credit because Will actually guided me to the live feeds, and I was checking out the live feeds for Big Brother.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. So he's actually helping you get. Well, we are here to talk about Survivor 45 episode 2. And gentlemen, there's a lot. These 90-minute episodes are delivering. They told us we were going to get the intros back. They didn't tell us we were going to get the previously on Survivor back, which I love that. Someone who has shit memory, like that is so nice to have Jeff say previously on Survivor. So you can kind of remind yourself exactly what's happening. And we are getting so much camp life. We had an entire segment today about somebody's toe, which I was like, we're just feeding into the foot fetish people out there. But we had an entire 30 minutes about, no, it wasn't 30 minutes. I was over exaggerating, but it was like 5 minutes of someone's toe talking about their big toe. I'll go to Will first because you usually don't join us on Wednesday nights here. What do you think of the episode? I feel like this season is delivering so far.
I love this episode. Everything I complained about before on these episodes about how I wanted more camp life, it delivered, right? Because we still had all the mountains of strategy. We had the weird boat island twist, but we were able to have the dumb fun moments, right? Moments where it's just like, why is he talking about her big toe? Why is this the first segment we're seeing on Survivor, right? It brings life into the game. I feel like it makes these people more than just players in a chessboard. I'm a big fan, big advocate. I've been wanting this since season 2.
Man, you said it best there. Abraham, what's your opinion on the episode and what we got? We got a lot of content. Like Will said, even going to Ship Wheel Island or whatever you want to call it now. There's no ship wheels anymore, but it felt like it fit in the timeline of events.
It's almost like Survivor has graduated to the next class. I was kind of hoping that after 43, 44, what we're going to really get in 45. And I got to say that they put together just a nice set of circumstance. You got people that don't like each other. You got people who trying to play the game super hard. You got skeptical people. And here's the thing about it is we don't have the reusing of the same old twist. Because when we see this other one about the candle, I was like, that's ingenious. That was ingenious for them to sit there and think that up. Even when we go get to the boat ride and everything else, I am loving the fact that, and it was kind of saying, will episode 2 let us down? Because episode 1 was packed full of all kind of good nuggets, but will episode 2 be the one that we finally fall off? I don't know where this season's going to end at, but if you're not tuning into Survivor, you're missing out.
Abraham, before you go, I will let you know, Abraham, your audio just completely scratched out again. We were having some audio issues, and I don't know what it is. It was so scratchy. Yeah, so you might have to switch over to the phone real fast.
I'm gonna leave out. I'll be back, everybody. I'm gonna switch over to the phone.
All right. I love Abe. I know it was not just you. I was like, oh shoot. No, you can understand what he's saying. It was we understood everything.
You can see my face laughing at Randy being like, oh my god. No, but episode 2 in Survivor, it tends to be my least favorite episode because it kind of calmed down from the premiere of season 1. People are starting to get used to starving on an island, so it feels more dull. I can barely remember everyone all at once. I always need a guide. I always have the wiki up so I can know who's who. But I feel like the 90-minute episodes do help. I still get lost with some people. Like, I was like, who's Brando? Like, what is this guy doing? You know? And I forget, like, the occupations, but, like, I'm having an easier time remembering all the people now. And I feel like, even though this was just episode 2, I feel like there's a lot of development within the episode. And I don't know. It felt different. Survivor feels different. I don't know if the cast is just weirder and they're digging into that. I don't know if it's 90 minutes. I don't know if it's the return of an intro or just the general vibe of the episode just felt different and not like, you know, the last episode 2s of the last 4 seasons. What do you think about that?
Well, you're getting to know everyone a lot more. Like, we're seeing that camp life. You're getting to understand people. And guess what? We've been saying it for years. You don't need flashbacks to do that. We don't need a million flashbacks to feel a connection with these people. You just need to see them. Like, there are so many people on this cast that I am rooting for. Like, seriously, there's so many. Like, tonight between them, we're going to get to it in just a second. I know everyone's waiting to hear us talk about the actual episode. But Brandon and Emily, I didn't want either of them going home. I do apologize about the coughing as well. I think, she's going ham in there. It's a wild night. This is a live show, and it's a bit wild. But anyways, Brandon and Emily, I didn't want either of them to go home because I was like, there's a story you might get into it. And yes, we'll talk about it. But honestly, there's a story there. He's such a good character. And I would have loved to see more of it. But before we get into everything, Jay says I can't even hear any coughing. I hear it in my headset. Did you not hear it, Will?
I wasn't paying attention. I'm too busy listening to your words and not background noise.
Maybe it's okay. Well, maybe I shouldn't have outed her like that, but I just hear it so much. But anyways, you guys can join us in our live chat. Jay's been keeping it busy. He says it's okay, guys. Still enjoying the pod. That's what I'm talking about. The narrative has been put together well, and then I have to get this right here. I can't hear any coughing. I know. That's my bad outing there. But anyways, while we wait on Abe here, he did just send me a message, so we'll see if we'll be able to get him back. Let's go ahead and get in this episode. Yeah, he says he's back right now.
Is he backstage?
He is not.
I love Abraham so much. This is what I missed about
he's been traveling nonstop. All right, let's get to this episode. So let's get to the big meat of things. Brandon did go home tonight, which I was kind of surprised about because I literally had a tweet ready that said, by the way Jeff is talking, and by the way they're playing music, and he asked Emily the question of like, what does this journey mean to you? I was about to tweet it out and said, okay, Emily's going home tonight. It's blatantly obvious. And then he turned, right when I was about to send it, he turned to Brandon. And I was like, okay, now I don't know. And so I decided not to send that message. Yeah. And sure enough, it ended up being Brandon. And I did send a tweet tonight through our Survivor Now podcast X account or Twitter account. I sent a message out that basically said that there was an obvious choice tonight, a very, very obvious choice, and that was Brandon. Like in terms of if you are looking at different castaways and stuff, Brandon just, I'm sorry. I love you, Brandon. I say this out of love. What is he good at? What? He couldn't do puzzles. He couldn't do just the physical part of the challenge. He couldn't win the advantage tonight. And this is going to go down, and I hate to say this, and it kills me to say it, and I know we're all thinking it. This is one of the worst Survivor performances in the history of Survivor. It is up there. I can think of a few people who I think personally are worse. Like he was at least, he had a social game. He was a great guy. They wanted to keep him around. But in terms of, like, you think of someone like Brandon Hantz, that dude just, he could not bite his tongue whatsoever. I guess you could say he was better at the challenges. We have someone, Maylin, thank you for saying that. 100% agree. Will, fill us in on what you think about everything I just said there.
See, the problem, though, is that, to me, there's different levels of the social game, right? There is likability, right? Just how well can you converse with people? And then how can you use that to your game? That is the second element of the social game. And I think Brandon did not have that second element. I think he's a nice guy. However, I mean this in the nicest way possible. Brandon is, in my opinion, an org player, an online reality game player, right? Because it's all the qualities that he might have of an online reality game, of being a very nice person, being loving the game, but he's not used to the elements. And as much as he might have been hi Jack, and as nice of a guy, I think Brandon's a really nice guy, right? He's very vulnerable, very open, and I think that can lead people in. But Brandon, one, could not use that, and two, he just could not do any challenge. He couldn't be physical. He's proven that he wasn't that good at the puzzles. No, I do not.
Wait, Will, let me get the question up first. I was going to let you finish and then show it.
Please do. Please pop it up. I do not think so.
Do y'all think production would call him for a second chance season, given how endearing he is? No, I don't. I don't think we will ever see Brandon back. No, finish what you're saying, though. I was going to bring it up.
the only I do. There's only one stipulation of Brandon coming back, right? And that is if second chance is like season 60, right? And they have, instead of doing like a fan polling, like past alumni have to reapply. And Brandon's like a whole nother guy, like got his emotions in check, like very fit. That would be a really cool second chance story. But like, I think back to seasons 41 through 45, and that's excluding the great characters we had in the late 30s. Yeah. I do not see production bringing back a second boot to Survivor. I think Bruce was a 1 in a million chance of just getting injured from a challenge. But like, again, Brandon, he seems like a really, really nice guy. I want to be his friend as much as the next guy. But like, to me, the vote was kind of obvious, especially with, and we'll get to this later, Emily's storyline this episode, which I think can signify how she's going to play the rest of the game down the road. But we'll get to that in due time.
Well, I was gonna say, I said in the Fantasy Outlook show, you can catch it on Wednesday mornings. Today it was a little bit later. Short little plug. But I said, I don't think Emily was going home this week. You could tell by the preview, they were really building up how the tribe didn't like Emily and that she was on the outs. And I just thought they were making it too obvious for Emily to go home. And they only kind of made me feel at the very last second that it could be Emily with how they were playing Tribal Council. But this didn't surprise me. It was, on one hand, it was a really endearing episode for Emily, and there was a big growth for her this episode. On the flip side of that, there was a giant fall for Brandon. It was like one thing I felt so bad for the guy. I tweeted before Tribal Council even took place, and I was like, you just have to feel for the man, because it was not his performance, and it just wasn't his cup of tea.
Yet I think the last 2 episodes of Survivor have shown that this game is still very real. I know, people who don't watch the show, they always try to say, "Oh, Survivor's fake. Oh, it's just they live in a hotel room," or "Oh, production's doing this." Survivor is very real, right? It's physically demanding, and the last few seasons have tried to lean into that, with like the lack of flint, lack of food, the lack of everything. And so I don't think Brandon anticipated that. I think people go into the game thinking the social game is the hardest part. It's really how the physicality coincides with the social game.
But it's
You know,
yeah, it's tough to
yeah.
see Brandon go. It's not surprising, and I think this is it, the first 2 episodes have been so good in content and like I feel like
Yeah.
all around episode, and then both of them have kind of had endings. Like it's like when you have Hannah and Brandon,
I don't
two
know.
people who were just not meant for this game, and now you do have to start asking questions to not only casting, but we have the LuLu losers. We even hear Caleb talking about next week how, or was it this episode? And I just am mixing stuff up. How like this tribe, it was this episode, I think this tribe cannot win. This tribe is just terrible. Who's putting these tribes together? Like, because I think Reba is never going to lose a challenge.
Yeah. So in Reba's defense, apparently Austin was a last minute replacement, right? I can give the pass on that. I understand production scrambles, right? I talk about this on Big Brother all the time. However, I feel like whoever put together LuLu was just making a joke, right? Because it's like the strong players aren't like overly strong. Like I feel like Sean, Sabaya, and Caleb, I feel like they're average middle of the road. They're not like Sifu, but like they can hold their own in the challenge. But like Hannah and Brandon, they are such dead weight and they flop like a fish in these challenges. No, I love them. I love Hannah and I love Brandon, but like they aren't good at challenge.
So bad. We do have Abraham. Bad news. He's not going to come back tonight. Will, he texted me and said, tell Will another time. But he's keeping it alive in the chat. He was having some audio issues tonight. He is on the road. So we will have Abraham back next week, and we'll have Will back on the season so we can get the original crew back. But this is the original crew, Will. You and I. This literally is the original. Pretty much. Let's talk about the adventure first. So we saw these boats kind of coming up to the camp, and I thought it was really funny. Emily said, "Oh my gosh, are they for us?" And Brandon's like, "No, they're for somebody else. Like who else would they be for?" But we see the journey taking place. Will, as I get my notes up to remind everyone who went on the journey, because I'll have it right here, exactly what happens. Tell us what you were thinking right when the boats were arriving, because my first thought, I rolled my eyes. I went, Jesus Christ, we're doing the journey again. I thought we could go a season without the journey, and I did end up liking it and liked what they did with it. But just tell us that initial reaction of how you felt when the boats were arriving.
I think I was indifferent. I think I don't think I'm very harsh when it comes to television. I think, when people say like a season or episode of Survivor was the worst, I try to look at the good at least. So I was indifferent because I just kind of expect the Shipwheel Island, the boat, the ride to just happen. And I feel like the last few seasons and iterations of it hasn't been bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's been
agree,
caveats to make it unique, to make it different. I don't think this whole boat ride interaction was really memorable outside of how Brandon interacted with all of it. I think, Bruce being there was kind of funny because of his storyline this episode, and Drew, he was there. That's kind of all I have to say about Drew right now.
Well, you had a problem with Carson last season. Is it Drew this season? Because I'm loving Drew. So the 3 people who went on this journey were Drew, Brandon, and Bruce. And then they got to talk for a little bit. And I thought Brandon could be a fabulous podcaster. He was in the middle and he was like, Brandon, tell me what's happening on your tribe. Okay, good answer. Drew. Yeah, Drew could be an amazing podcaster. Yeah, Brandon, what's happening on your tribe? Oh, I like that. That's amazing. All right, Bruce, what about you? What's happening? And kind of going back and forth. And I'm like, he's steering the conversation, but then they break off 3 separate paths. And it was something new where it's like this puzzle challenge. It's kind of like a savvy challenge. You have 3 minutes to match these kind of like matching symbols and then try to unlock an advantage. And we saw one of everything, which is going to make some people be like, that's why Survivor scripted. No, it was just cool how it's cool how it plays out. But Bruce did not risk his vote, because that was the other thing. If you played the game, you risk your vote. Drew played and won. He got a advantage without power, which is basically he can leave tribal council right before they read the vote. Or before they vote, right? Yeah, before they vote. So he can't vote, but he can't get voted out. And then Brandon also risked his vote and lost it. So if you're looking at all 3 of these gentlemen and their decisions, I thought Drew's was smart, because we've seen the alliance forming between him, Austin, help me out here. Him, Austin,
D and Julia.
Thank you. And then I thought that was a good decision. Bruce, I didn't like that decision, because everyone's making it such a big deal about he's played the game before. I wanted him to go for it, because I think it could have really helped him out. And then Brandon, I don't know. I think it could be 50-50. It was tough to see him. It was so tough seeing him be like, oh, I think I got it. No, I don't. So that's kind of how I feel about it. Like, what do you think? Because it sounded like you thought Bruce made a bad decision.
No, I think Bruce made a good
decision. Good decision. That's what I meant.
I think I hate how like Survivor's like based on like, oh, you have to take every advantage given to you, right? And I feel like Survivor's trying to like make that a thing when there's stuff like the Beware advantage that's like going against that grain. I think playing it safe is very smart in Survivor, because Bruce has this giant target. And you know that everyone on that tribe has seen the last 4 seasons. They know exactly what Shipwheel Island's like. And they're going to expect either a piece of parchment saying he doesn't have a vote, or he has an advantage. I think by not going for it, he's able to be upfront. He can still tell the truth. I think the value of Shipwheel Island is talking to people on the other tribes. I think that's the true advantage of it, not the actual piece of parchment with an advantage. I think the only loser was Brandon, because we saw Drew, he won the advantage and he was very open and upfront, and that that really closened that made Drew and Austin very close. I have a stutter. And they had the alliance early on that we saw form, but really it was Drew being honest about this. Drew being honest is what made Austin be like, hey, I should tell Drew about my advantage, and they were able to get close like that. If you want to put Jay's comment too.
I was getting into it. So Jay here, I'm so glad safety without power was brought back into the game, though. Always thought it was an underrated advantage. And then he said another comment here. Drew got lucky, though, because if he had lost his vote being allied with Austin, who had already lost his vote, and Reba lost tonight, it could have been bad for him, given that it would have been 2-2. That's good insight. That's really looking into it. I didn't even think about that. But I don't know. I liked it. I really liked how they changed it. I'm okay if they keep doing Shipwheel Island, if they keep kind of doing the same Survivor layout each and every season. I'm okay if they do that, as long as they keep changing. Like they changed Sweat and Savvy this year, and then they changed Shipwheel Island again. The only thing is, I know I just said I'm okay if they keep doing it, but like, I don't know. It was such a letdown when we were going on the journey, and I was just sitting there and I was like, why? Why do we need a journey? And then I was like, okay, I guess it's kind of like a reward challenge, but for just one person. So I was like, whatever. Jay has a question. Do y'all think they would have kept Brandon tonight if he had won the puzzle at the journey?
No,
I don't think so. I think they would have voted him. Yeah, especially after the challenge. I mean, you can't keep saying you're good at puzzles and then mess up the puzzles like he did. Like it was blatantly obvious he was the problem at the puzzle. I'm not saying Sabaya was doing that much better, but like Brandon was just like lost out there. So that's one of the advantages that we saw. So Drew got the safety without power, as it's called. And before we get on to the other advantages that we saw this episode, Will, I got to hear your opinion on Drew, because you're hating on my guy. And I thought Drew could be up for player of the episode this week. I think he's playing a fantastic. No, you said when I brought up Drew, you said, "Oh, Drew, don't even get me started," or something.
I said
like
I'll get to him later.
Oh, you'll get to him. Okay, well let's get. Okay. Well, let's get to him. Maybe it's a bad read on my. I thought he was possibly player of the episode, and I think he's playing such a good game, and his self-awareness right now in the game is there as well. How he's like, you know what? I'm gonna sit back. I do want to be the king, but I can't be it yet. But I think over time I can cut all these guys loose, and I can kind of take over this game.
So I like Drew as a character more than I did Carson last season. I felt like Carson last season was very one-dimensional. I felt like he was just like the nerd archetype. And I'm going to do a rewatch of 44, and I'm going to, see how my opinion differs.
Give him another chance, yeah.
give him another chance. I like Carson, right? But Drew, he felt more like a character and a narrator, as well as being like the de facto nerd. I like Drew. Do I call him my favorite player? Probably not. However, I think he did really well this episode. Everything he wanted to do worked out for him. I do worry that he's going to fall into the same category as Carson did, as Omer did, as Ricard did, of being the strategic front until like the final 5, final 4, where he gets voted out. And him talking about how wanting so much power and how he's going to get there eventually makes me feel like we're going to see some form of Drew downfall, either later in the game at Final 4, maybe at the Final 8, that whole elite club that Jack talked about, or, even top of merge. I doubt that though. But I do like Drew a lot. I think he played this episode very well. Buy your Drew stock. But I am worried about him as a winner so far. But
well, besides Drew, because we just kind of talked about him a little bit, who stood out to you this episode? Give us like a secret pick. Like, give us someone that people aren't really paying attention to, but you've noticed is playing a really good game.
So I want to point out Kelly.
I was instantly thinking Kelly. I was thinking, yep. I don't know what it is. I'm sorry to interrupt. No, I don't know what it is.
Hey,
this episode, she was giving me winner vibes. I don't know why. It was screaming winner.
So Kelly is very observant, right? She's very quiet, but she's on a pretty loud tribe personality-wise. She's with Kendra. She's with Bruce. I think Jake to a certain extent. And we've seen that most of the big alliances have, involved with the three women plus Brando. We have Bruce, Jake, Kelly, and who else, if you don't mind me asking? We saw that alliance of 4 form, and Kelly's been in all those crosswords. And
it was Kelly was trying to decide that her and Brando, she said her and Brando are in the middle, which is who Jay pointed out here. Brando stuck out to him. But it was Kelly and Brando in the middle. And she's like, look, I know the girls want to do this all girls alliance. And I know everyone on X and Instagram are going to be dying at this, because everyone wants this girls alliance to just, be the second coming of the Black Widow Brigade and dominate. But basically Kelly and Brando are in the middle, and Kelly's like, look, I know I can go with the girls. Like, that option is there. And we're talking about Katura and Kendra. But then she's like, look, I can get down with the guys just as well as I can get down with the girls. I could easily go with Jake, Bruce, and Brando and be their fourth person. So it's kind of a decision they have to make. I think it is going to come down to what Kelly says, because as much as I do love Brando, Jay, I don't think Brando is going to make the decision. I think Brando will go wherever Kelly wants to. If Kelly wants to go with the girls, I think Brando's fine going with the girls, and vice versa. I don't think he's going to put his foot down and be like, I need to stay with the guys.
Well, Brando's put in a weird position too, because Brando, he sticks out on that tribe, right? Because he's very skinny, he's scrawny, he's very young. And we've seen him talk about this, right? Where he was worried about his lack of connections and how he's going to stick out and all that. So I don't think it's not smart for him to go like, hey guys, it's me, Brando. We should vote out Bruce, or we should vote out Jake or Katora, And so I don't blame Brando. I think he's very under the radar. And I feel like Kelly right now, she's observant. I think Katura is also in a really good position. She was ranked number 1 for both me and Jack during the StockWatch. I think Kendra is also very vocal, and I'm worried about that. And actually, my true sleeper pick, right, is Sabaya from LuLu.
Ooh, I like Sabaya.
I think she does the best out of LuLu, besides maybe Sean. Maybe I'm just coping with my draft picks. But I feel like Sabaya is a very good narrator. We always hear from her when it comes to camp life, when it comes to Sweat v Savvy. And so I feel like she's put in a really good position. She has that 3 with Sean and Caleb. And I think in a merge, she's going to be that player that no one expects. And so I think people will slip on Sabaya, because I feel like at least with Kelly, people would say like, oh, she's under the radar, observant, like you thought Kelly would do well. I don't think people are going to say Sabaya until the merge. But buy your stock.
buy your stock on Sabaya. Jay says Katura hating on Bruce this episode was so hilarious. Everybody's hating on Bruce. Everybody's hating on my man Bruce. First Emily, and then official saving Bruce. Go check out his band. Yeah. So yeah, like everybody, Emily, the first episode. Why do you think Katura is so out for Bruce? Because I'm sorry, a man going out on an island, getting a concussion, bleeding from his head for 8 hours or whatever is not an advantage in the game. We do see how Bruce is trying to be Uncle Brucey, and he's very wacky. He's very out there, but he is kind of bossing some people around. But it's Katura who's like everybody's feeding into his hands. It was funny to watch, but man, Bruce is a personality. He needed to be back on Survivor. So I kind of see why Katura is saying all this. I think it's a few things. One, Bruce immediately contradicts himself. Early on, he's like, I don't want to be the father. I want to be the fun uncle. But he's also taking on that leadership role, despite saying he doesn't want to take on that leadership role. And I think she's the only one who's really pointing that out, besides Kendra in one confessional. I think the problem lies because whenever there's a captain on any season, except for one season of Survivor, and this is across both Big Brother and Survivor, if there's a returning player, they are making it to the end of the game. They're making it to the final tribal council or the final 2 or whatever. Only one exception happened with Edge of Extinction, where there was an alliance formed to vote out the returning players. And so that's just because they have that cult of personality. Even though Bruce was barely there, he still has that experience, and it's easy for him to be in that leadership role and for people to listen. And he's a great shield to have, because you can easily say, hey, Bruce is a threat, guys, while also hiding behind him. And it could cause some timid gameplay. And so I think Katura is right for wanting to target Bruce and get him out as soon as possible before Bruce can really take over the Bellew camp. Like, I think it's wise. And I will say Bruce isn't really helping his campaign out by, he keeps bringing up, he is name dropping, and he keeps bringing up like, oh my gosh, this season, this is what we did and stuff. You don't want people to know you have experience on the island. So he's not helping his case out. I will say we saw 3 duos kind of form this episode. And I'm just going to throw these out. These are some of the duos that we're learning about. And I want you to say which one you honestly think is going to go the farthest in this game. So from the Reba tribe, we saw Austin and Drew connecting. And Drew says that he wants to have a good friend of the show. He wants to have a Fishback in coach connection, I believe is what he said. Yep. And then on the what is it? Bellew tribe? Bellew tribe. That's the one I keep forgetting for whatever reason. Yeah. On the Bellew tribe, you could either go with, I'm not going to go with Kelly and Brando. I'm going to go with Brando and Bruce, because we saw them have a little relationship that I guess most people would be like, no, Randy, go with Bruce and Jake. Yes, that's the easy one. But we saw Bruce and Brando have a very good moment. So I'm just going to throw this out there. So it's between Austin and, oh my gosh, getting too many names out. Austin and Drew, Brando and Bruce. And then on the LuLu tribe, I'm going to give you Emily and Caleb.
I don't see that. I don't see the last.
You don't? Because I do. Oh, let's talk about this because I do.
So I think if LuLu goes back to tribal, I think Emily is a very good person to get out, because I feel like Sean, he's physical at least, right? And he's been under the radar. He's not been causing any waves, and Emily is a firecracker, right? She'd be a great shield to have if LuLu wasn't struggling as much as they were. Honestly, I think that Lulu's winning the next challenge. That might be insane of me to say, right? I'm known for my crackpot theories in the Survivor Now podcasting world.
Love it. Yes.
Yeah. I do not see Lulu losing the next challenge because they got rid of their 2 weakest members, right? Right. But at the same time, like Emily, she's still strategic. I feel like Emily will turn on Caleb, and I feel like Caleb is too trusting of people. I feel like he's very honest. He seems like the nicest guy in the whole wide world, right? Him and Brandon both. But I feel like Caleb might get blindsided by this. Honestly, I think the duo that would go the farthest is Drew and Austin, but we won't hear from them that much because I think they're just going to win every single pre-merge challenge. I do not see Reba going to tribal. I think Bella.
I don't either. I don't see Reba ever going to tribal council. Like I really don't. And it's going to be interesting to see if they can stick together. I like that dynamic 4 that they put together. I don't know, man. There was a lot that I saw this episode. I think Emily might have went home tonight if it wasn't for Caleb. Honestly, like I know Sean was very outspoken about Brandon isn't going to win a challenge. Like he was very outspoken about that, but I think he would have went with the group. And how I read the situation is, we saw so many scenes where Emily was talking to Caleb and Caleb's like, Emily's improving. And I love the quote that he said, bad players wouldn't even attempt to talk to me. Good players know that that's a number, or it was something like that.
Yeah.
And basically saying he's a good player, and he realizes that Emily has nobody, which we've seen this in the past where people are so hated on a tribe, or they're not hated, but they stick out so much that they like everyone looks at it, easy vote. That's an easy vote. And every year it makes me mad. Every season it makes me mad because that is such an easy number, and it is a numbers game. Nobody is willing to work with Emily. Go work with Emily. Like she's got nobody. If you are the only person who's going to work with her, she has to work with you.
Yes. But when you have a player like Emily who sticks out like a sore thumb, it makes it so easy for everyone else on LuLu to talk game and open ways of communication with each other, right? Because you're timid, right? You're scared to talk game with people. Your mind's going a mile a minute. You don't know who to trust. And if you have a player like Emily, that makes it very easy for someone like Sean, who's very quiet, to go and be like, hey guys, what's going on with Emily? We should vote her out. And it's easy to build trust like that. And I think that's the approach most people are taking when they vote out the easy vote. I think it does make sense to keep numbers, but I also don't think it's insane to vote out the easy vote. As much as you might disagree with that. I mean, I think it makes for more compelling TV to have someone like Emily stick around for a while. But strategically, I think it makes a lot of sense to just pinpoint and target one person, kind of like how Katura is trying to target Bruce for just being a returning player, right? You want to target people who stick out like a sore thumb. In Lulu's case, it was Emily. Blow's case, it was Bruce. It makes it easy to talk game with people and to open relationships like that.
I got to get this comment in. Here's a crackpot theory, Will, for you. Sean has been pretty quiet on social media, even though he's a huge fan. Plus, Hannah said he adores him in her exit press, and so that makes me think he's a pre-merge boot, and they became good friends at Ponderosa. Will, I'm just going to take this opportunity and tell you I was right. I told you social media meant something. I don't know if I believe this crackpot theory.
So I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast, but the reason why I was so high on Hannah, right? So, and this is a little bit of a plug, but my band, we play at this venue called Zen West, right? And there's the person who runs the door is a huge Survivor fan, right? She went to Bryce and Wendell's party in New York City And so you've probably ran into it, Randy.
Yes.
if the name Mackenzie Evans ring a bell, shout out to her. But she's friends with Hannah Rose. They're both from Baltimore. Like, I'm not talking like they became friends after the show. Like, they were friends. She went on Survivor. And I'm not going to get spoilers, but I'm like, you know what? I'm putting all my chips on Baltimore. And so I was really looking at different angles, trying to finagle just any possibility that Hannah wouldn't be the first boot. Now, did I think she would quit episode 1, day 3?
She didn't quit. She didn't quit because Jeff Probst said she got voted out, which my jaw was on the floor when everyone got to the challenge and Jeff went, you guys are getting your first look at the LuLu tribe. Hannah voted out last tribal. No, she wasn't. True. I don't care. You did not do a vote. You did not write it down on parchment. This is my little rant. Jeff, man up. Bring back sassy, angry Jeff. No, she did not get voted out. She quit the game. Point blank. I love Hannah. I think she doesn't deserve the hate that she's getting online. But she did not get voted out. Like, that was a quit. And Will, this. Jeff, back in the day, would not have said she got voted out. He would have been like, she decided to leave.
A few things, Randy. First of all, you are wrong. Jeff Probst, with an interview with Dalton Ross, has said that he counted it as a very clear quit, right?
But he didn't say it on the island.
Well, yeah, he didn't say it on the island because it's like, has he said like Hannah quit has he said that with Austin in season 7? Like, she quit. Yes, they did the vote, but she didn't participate in the vote. Like, it was a quit, right? And actually, Probst has mentioned the reason why he's not sassy anymore is because in seasons past, he kind of viewed himself as a way to speak for the audience, right? So if a player quit back in season 7, there was no social media, right?
Yeah.
So Probst would be mad for the audience. And so he would channel the audience's, anger and upset. And that's why he was so sassy with like Austin's quit. It's also why he was very sympathetic with other quits, which the viewers might find sympathetic too. Like, Jenna Maraska, Kathy from Micronesia.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, because social media is so big, Probst knew the amount of vitriol that would go to Hannah. He knew that she would get bombasted on social media. And so he decided to not, kick her while she's down. And we can disagree or agree on that. I understand where Probst is coming from, and that's the important part, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, everything is a quit. She has the quit role on the Survivor wiki. Probst has said it was a quit. It was a quit. And
it's classified.
Survivor.
Yeah.
Now I didn't think that would happen day 3, but now Sean worries me because I think Sean could have a very good narrative, right? And I'm not saying this is what's happening, but he could have the narrative of he was on the most chaotic tribe in Survivor history, and he was the quiet voice. He was observant, similar to how Kelly was on Bello, right? And he worked with the powerful players like Sabaya and Caleb, was always in the know with information, and he's able to navigate the merge. But I also am realistic enough to not know that that's what's happening. Honestly, I'm just happy that one of my draft picks were right with Kelly, and I'll take the knee for the rest.
Hey, maybe you make some ground up on our Survivor Now fantasy leaderboards. You got 1 point last week, Will. Let's go for 2. When we come back, we will talk. Will and myself will talk about the Beware advantage. And are we starting to hide these things a little bit too dangerously? We'll talk about that when we get right back.
What's up, guys? I'm Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China, and I want to welcome you to Todd's Pop Shop. Here, me and my husband Jess, we custom make Funko Pops. We'll make literally anybody or anything you could imagine. But being that we're here listening to the Survivor Now podcast, I'm assuming you're all Survivor fans. So take a look at these. Some custom Funkos of your favorite Survivor winners, Sandra and Yule. Or how about Big Brother fans? Suri Goddess herself playing the game of Big Brother. You can also get her in Survivor form. Or maybe yourself with your favorite buff and a torch playing the game. But even better, get yourself with your favorite player like Nora here with Ozzy. And since you're listening to the Survivor Now podcast, if you mention this ad, you will get $10 off your first order and free shipping. All season long, Survivor 45 should be a good one. Mention this ad, $10 off and free shipping. I'll be watching too, still a diehard fan to this day. Hit me up on Instagram, Todd's Pop Shop, or toddspopshop@gmail.com, or on Facebook, and I will see you soon.
What a world. Well, when we started this, we were on our phones, like doing.
You were on your phone.
Were you not? You were on the computer, weren't you?
No, my setup has never changed or faltered.
I was on the phone. We weren't doing you couldn't see us. It was audio only.
Yeah.
And now look at us. We're on YouTube, and we've got winner of Survivor China, Todd Herzog, proud partner of the show. Not only can you win a Todd Herzog pop from our fantasy competition if you finish in the top 3, but he is offering $10 off and free shipping if you mention Survivor Now when you reach out to him. You think that applies to us? Maybe not me.
maybe me. I mean, I don't think Todd Herzog is a fan of the Survivor StockWatch, so I don't think the names Will West and Jack Powell ring a bell to him. But I'll reach out to him and just kind of see, where he's at. I just made some dough the other day, so I got some cash. I actually just bought a LuLu tribe buff. I'm hoping for big. I bought the Tika buff, and now that thing is worth like $300.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, you can make money. I got to get my season 45 buff soon, and I haven't decided. I really want the merge buff. I'm really holding out until the merge buff comes out, because the merge buff is absolutely drop dead gorgeous. Will, let's get into the Beware advantages this season. So we had a couple things happen this episode. First off, let's talk about Austin. So Austin goes and tells Drew about his Beware advantage. He did figure out what the saying was. And I also found this interesting. Side note, Jay Maya, or Jay as we're just calling her on the show, she actually knows. She's like, I know this has something to do with an idol or something, but she doesn't have that second piece. But it ended up saying, sorry, here it is. Nope, never mind.
Something with P's and X's.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Why can I not? I'm going to get it. Give me. Okay. It says, and I quote, dig in the fallen palm tree X is what he got from it. I'm shocked we didn't see more digging this episode. But Will, I almost feel like, and we're going to get to it a little bit more in a second, the advantage that Brandon found, I feel like that's the second part of that's got to be the second part, because unless it's completely different, Austin found a Beware advantage, and it says there's 3 tasks. In my mind, task number 1 is find the map clue. Task number 2 is use the map to find the tree. And then to me, task number 3 is get it down and get it out of the wax. I don't know. Maybe now it's like task 1 for the LuLu tribe was use the map. Task 2, get it down. Task 3, get it out of the wax. Maybe. I'm interested. Is it completely different? Is this like season 44 where it's like, it's a different thing you got to do?
I think we're thinking of season 44 where all the idols and the fake idols coincide with each other. Right. Yes. I think the problem is that idols, they're island specific, right? And no 2 islands are going to be the exact same. And so they're trying to find a palm tree that's unique enough, because idols are always not just in a normal tree. It's always like there's something with it. Honestly, I just think that it's different each time. I don't know about the wax. I think the wax, though, is genius and very cruel for the LuLu tribe.
I love it. This is the first thing, and this is the first thing in the new era. And I'm talking even with the bird cage, even with some of the like the bring back or the return of the water challenge. This is the first thing in the new era that I jumped up and said, that's amazing. Whoever did that, they need to be more in charge because it is
They need a
honestly
raise.
amazing. Exactly. It was amazing, Will. The fact that LuLu has that and they don't even have fire. Side note, and I could not wait to talk about this. If I'm Sabaya, everybody knows about that other than Emily.
Yeah.
And there's not much Emily can do. I'm taking that to tribal council
putting
and
it on
I
the
am
fire.
using the fire
Yeah.
to get that idol out. I think I saw someone on, I'm sorry, I can't give you credit, but I'm pretty sure I saw someone on X. It was a former Survivor player saying, can she just take that to tribal and toss it in the fire? Like,
Yeah, no, that was my idea. That was my first idea.
Why aren't you doing it? Everybody, like, most of the time you wouldn't do that because you don't want other people finding out about the idol. Everybody knows about it, but Emily, just take it in and have a cookout while Jeff's talking.
There could be an unwritten rule. Maybe she tried and production's like, hey, Buster,
no, not here.
that wouldn't surprise me. But I think that would be a very ingenious way to kind of get out of that stipulation. But maybe it wouldn't finish on time. So maybe she'll have like a half burnt, half waxed.
Oh yeah,
idol.
you can't pick it up because it's just like
it's melted wax.
And Jeff just goes, sorry, you guys got to go. Jeff, I need like 5 more. Nope, you got to go. Nope. You either carry it out with you or you leave it at tribal.
Or leave it here for the next try. If I can lose anyways.
So next episode, she's like, no, guys, we got to lose because if we don't lose, someone's going to get my idol.
Emily, I'm sorry, dog, but like your vote is worth less than my idol.
We gotta lose, guys. Or like another tribe lose and they just go, hey, you're gonna find an idol. Can you snatch it for me? It's gonna be just sitting in the fire.
Yeah, so she just goes up. So they're gonna be really weird, guys. But like, be careful with the fire when you dip your torch in. Don't get waxed. I have an idol there.
Maybe she just says like, just stay away from the fire. It's very dangerous. I saw like a snake in there. Like there's a snake. Yeah, there's a deadly snake around the fire.
Deadly snake in the fire that production is doing nothing about. That's going to stay away from people, but be in the.
Jeff might bring it up that it's very deadly. It's a fire snake.
I think if that did happen, production would move the hot wax. I think maybe keeping tribals like tribe specific. I think that'd be a cool idea. But I think it'd lose like the authenticity of like, oh, tribal's like a place. I don't know.
What does this idol look like?
I don't know.
Like it's got to be like, I want to know what it is that you can burn it and then just grab it and it'd be fine. Is it like a rock? Is it like, it has to be. Because it can't be like a carved thing because that would just ignite.
I think it's like a shaped rock, right? Not like a carved piece of wood. Something like
stone,
that.
Something like obviously smaller, but like something smaller
but like not spherical, right? Because it has to like maybe like a skull or
a skipping rock.
Okay.
All right, so I've gone too far.
yeah. There's my crackpot theories, and then there's Randy's theories, and so they don't make the most sense.
I'm just saying, I want it to be like a jewel, or the theme of this season. The theme of this season is birds. It's an egg. It's got to be an egg. It's got to be like a dragon egg or something. I know a dragon's not a bird, but it's.
Yeah. Do you also believe that dragons existed and like coincided with humans, like that one lady from MBX?
Yeah. Have you not seen Game of Thrones, Will? Come on, get with the program. That's literally our history. It actually happened. Let's get back on the Survivor track here, and let's talk about Sabaya's Beware Advantage, or technically Brandon's. Brandon decides not to open it. Agree or disagree? We saw Austin immediately go, I'm a Survivor fan. I'm obviously opening this thing. You said yes. You don't agree with that?
I because here's the thing, right? He contradicts himself in this episode. So like I do like how he gave it to Sabaya, but he can't go to the challenge and be like, I want this advantage, I need it, and then like, oh, I don't want to lose my vote, so you take it. Like
you risk your vote. Yeah,
you already risked your vote. I get you don't want to lose 2
votes. I didn't even think about that. He already lost his vote.
But so it's like,
that's stupid.
It is, because then you can at least look for an idol, and just run off like a banshee, because why not? Everyone's already against Emily anyways. It doesn't make a lick of sense. I think it helps Sabaya out massively because she doesn't need to vote because the LuLu tribe are self-imploding right now. Everyone's against everyone except for Sabaya and Sean to a lesser extent.
Brandon might be the worst player ever.
Really? So actually, I have a question. I mentioned this in our group chat. Who do you think is a better Survivor Challenge person? Claire Rafson or Brandon?
Claire. If Claire actually did the challenges, she would have been so good at it.
Claire would have been a
Claire
monster.
changed the season. I mean, season 44 is going to go down as such an iconic season. We had two castaways who literally altered the next season. Every puzzle is original again because of Carson.
Thank God.
And now no matter what, you cannot sit out back-to-back challenges because Claire pissed Jeff off so much. If there's one thing that's happening in these new era seasons, it's that everybody is pissing Jeff off. Hannah is never going to come back. Brandon is never going to come back. Claire is probably never going to come back.
You know what? I'll change my tune on Carson. Carson changed Survivor. Respect to Carson. I want to get him on StockWatch. Why not?
Carson would be amazing on StockWatch. But going back to Sabaya ends up opening it after we see this mad dash for the idol because everyone doesn't want Emily to get it. By the way, mad respect to Emily for being like, no, I want to do it myself. Like mad respect. And then this leads to Sabaya using a map, the tribe map or the camp map or whatever, to figure out what tree it is in. They spend hours looking around this tree. They can't see it. Just for it to be all the way up in the tree. And at first, Will, I hated this because I didn't notice that you can just cut it down. I didn't notice that was an option. I thought they wanted them to either climb all the way up or use a giant like tree branch or something like they did on Survivor Australia a few seasons back. I was like, Jeff, what are we doing? We had a person fall off rocks last year because he thought there was an idol on top of the rocks. And now you're showing people that there could be idols all the way at the top of trees. What are we doing?
So I like how whenever Survivor is like too weak, you're always like, we need better challenges. Let's take a note from Survivor Australia because they push themselves. And then we come here and there's like a thing that's like too heavy. And you're like, guys, we're going to get a complaint. Someone's going to break a bone. We got to make challenges easier. Honestly, the name of the game is Survivor because it's ultimately the player's choice. It was Matthew's choice to climb the mountain. Did it lead into him dislocating his shoulder? Absolutely. If I was tasked to climb a giant tree and I was uncertain if I would be able to do it properly, I wouldn't go for the idol. I think it's wasting my energy. I think I'm better off just preserving it, helping out the tribe. And I think going that route, I think it gives it a choice. Now, obviously it's not as dangerous as we're making it out to be, but I always like to point that out, Randy, because I know I pointed that out last season. And every time I brought on to this podcast and this show, I'm going to point that out because it's funny.
Quick correction. Jay says, no, Brandon didn't lose his vote before he found the idol with Sabaya. Sometimes we get a little mix up. But yeah, I mean, he risked his vote with one thing, didn't risk his vote for the other. Abraham's back. They will not place the idol to hurt you, but you can hurt yourself. I did think this was, I thought this was pretty cool. The wax was amazing. We talked about that. I thought it was cool that you could just cut it down. Even they were having fun with it. Sabaya, when she was like, Jeff, I see you, Jeff. Like they were having fun with it. So overall, I mean, this was a fun episode and we're getting more camp life. We're hearing from everyone. We even heard from Julia, who I thought was the kind of the person from the first episode that I like barely remembered. And Jay's got a point here. I wonder what Bello's advantage will be. I still think Kelly's going to be the one to find it. I'm going to keep playing Kelly in my fantasy team because I don't know why. Yeah. I think Kelly's going to be the one to find it on the Bello tribe.
I think Jake as well. I think Jake is going to find it, but like either not play it properly or become a huge target because of it. I think out of everyone on Bello, I'm the most worried with Jake. or in Bruce. Really, I think honestly, Katora, Kelly, and Kendra are in great positions. So especially Kelly. Kelly's my one good pick, I'll say.
We
But
also saw. Oh, sorry. I just
Oh,
wanted
go
to
ahead.
say I forgot. I was reading my notes to make sure I covered everything and we didn't miss anything. The duo that I was really thinking about earlier when I asked that question that I just totally forgot about is how Mama J, Julia, is close with D, and that's like her ride or die is D. So there's a lot of dynamics that are forming. Will, if we were walking down the street, would we be friends?
It depends how you talk to me. If you talk to me like how you do your Survivor podcasts, and you're like,
I don't have a
"Hello,
Survivor
sir."
podcast voice. You say my Survivor podcasting voice is different
No.
than my regular voice.
No, what I do say is that you don't have a regular voice. Every time I see you speak anywhere, it's always in a podcast voice.
Is it
Like,
really? Like I just have
yeah.
a radio voice is what you're saying.
You have a radio voice. You're like, here I am. I'm walking down the street. Who is this kind person? Do you want to be a guest on my Survivor podcast? Like or like I don't know about you, but let me tell you, this street right here, terrible street. We should just cut it down. I like this street from 3 blocks away. Better street. You should walk on. Like you have like that podcast voice. I don't understand.
Now I'm gonna be so self-conscious, like going to work. Jay has a question here. Do y'all think the alliance of 4 on Reba will stay strong and be solid? I'm shocked J Maya is on the outs, given how sweet and bubbly she seems to be. I think we were all feeling like J Maya might have been a little too sweet for the show. We'll have to wait and see. Personally, no. This is the new era of the show. I don't think any alliances. And I know you're going to be like, Randy, we just had the Tika Alliance last season. That is like the first alliance that we've really seen stick together till the end. If I was to point out an alliance that I think is really going to make it far into this game, I'm going to go with Austin and Drew. I do think those two are going to bro out and go as far as they can together. But I also really like Emily and Caleb. Like, I really do think there's a wacky dynamic there. I think there's the whole storyline of Emily's growth where we were talking, or at least I was with a bunch of people talking about how she was this season's villain. Now I don't know if she is. I'm questioning it.
Who else?
I think Drew could be a villain. I think if Drew plays this, I think Drew could be a villain. He'd be a nice villain. He'd be a sweet villain.
Yeah, but like, how many sweet villains have we had? Like,
when I think of villain for New Era Survivor, when I truly think of villain, I think Ricard. No one has touched Ricard for me.
Ricard, I think you can make a case for Jesse, but Jesse was also a nice villain because he had his backstory. You know, he had his bromance with Cody for a while. You know, you can say Omer from 42. Really, like, I feel like the villains have been like the strategic tour de force.
They're more like Godfather villains, like not
Godfather
actually,
villains.
Like
I think a great villain was Josh from last season because Josh was like he just argued with people. I don't know, because I feel like Survivor's been trying to steer away from villains, and I'm kind of sad that we're trying to humanize Emily when I feel like she was a really good villain in the first episode. I hope she doesn't lose track of that. I know people made, parallels to Chaos Cass, but like, I want more of it. I thought more Abby Maria, but I want that old school.
I thought D was going to be like Abby Maria, but I didn't think we would have a 5-minute conversation about her big toe.
D, though, is at least trying to hide it. We saw D like say, I'm trying to keep it under wraps for Sifu. Honestly, I think if Reba goes to tribal council, it's either going to be Jay or Sifu. It's going to be a comment of whether do we want to keep numbers or challenge strength. Yeah. Sifu's a big guy, but like
you can't trust him.
You can't trust him. J Maya has a good personality, but can she do well in competitions compared to Sifu? I don't know. I think that's going to be the big storyline if Reba goes to tribal council. I still really think we're going to have a big Bello war tomorrow next
There's another episode tomorrow. Hold on.
No, but there's a great Big Brother episode, so make sure you watch it tomorrow night.
What a plug. Yes.
No.
Will be live with Jack and Matthew covering Big Brother. Don't forget about Big Brother, guys. We still cover it on the channel. So definitely check it out. Suri is still in the game if you're just watching it for Survivor reasons. Will, is there anything else that we didn't cover today? I think we got through everything with it being 90-minute episodes. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you didn't talk about when Brando was dressing like the girls. We try to cover the super big stuff. It's fun to see those moments, but we don't really want to spend too long speaking on it.
No, there's nothing. I think we covered every big moment. Jay asked the great question if you want to put that on screen. Yeah. He asked who we think will go home next week. I think it might be Jake, honestly.
I think it's Sabaya.
Really?
I think it's Sabaya.
I think if Lulu goes, it's either going to be Emily or Sean. Probably Sean.
I think Caleb's going to be with Emily. I think it could be a 2-2 split if Sean stays with Sabaya, but I think Sean goes with, I don't know. Sean and Sabaya were talking a lot. I am convinced that in the first episode, Caleb was more with Sabaya, but I think he's coming around to liking Emily. And yeah, Jay says it. Damn, Randy, that's one hot take.
Yeah.
I think I am so into this Emily and Caleb partnership. I think it could be so deadly. I think no one would expect it.
But are you saying that because you want that to happen, and so you're trying to think of all these different angles of how it could work? Because that's how I was with Hannah Rose during the fantasy draft. I thought of every different angle that Hannah could, do. I thought she was going to be the winner and was trying to hide it from her family. No, she just quit on day one,
I think Emily is too easy of a vote. And I do think I honestly don't see this LuLu tribe winning. I really don't. Because you get rid of Brandon, Sabaya wasn't doing much better at this puzzle. She really wasn't. Maybe you put Emily on with her and Emily would have killed it. But I don't see them winning. You have Caleb, Emily and Sean are good. They held their own. But you're talking a super physical challenge, which next week really could be. And you're telling me Emily, Sabaya, Caleb, and Sean has to go up against the likes of people like Sifu and Austin, because Sifu set out this challenge, so he'll be eligible to play. So, And if it's a physical challenge, Sifu and Austin for one tribe. And then on the other tribe, you have Jake and Bruce. I don't know.
I think we're discrediting. I think if Lulu goes, it's either going to be Emily. Maybe not Emily, but she's still high up there for just now starting her social game. Or I do think Jay's crackpot theory has some merit of Sean going, just because I feel like Sabaya is too big of a narrator right now. We do hear from Sabaya a lot. I think Lulu could win. The Brains tribe won a challenge in Cagayan.
Yeah,
I think they won a challenge in episode or
you think Lulu is not as bad as the Brains tribe?
No, I think
what about the tribe on, I don't remember the name of it, but the tribe on Palau, Stephanie's tribe.
Oolong,
yeah.
Oolong had a bad streak of luck because
Oolong was bad, Will.
They won challenges. They won more challenges than Matt Singh and Ravu.
Fair point, but they didn't win the right challenges.
They didn't win the right challenges, but also their most physical player in Jeff, he suffered a really bad injury, and so he asked to get voted out. I think Bobby, John, Ibrahim, and Angie were really good at challenges. I just think the other tribe was better, right? I think if we want to talk about tribes that were just bad, I think of Matt Singh, because Matt Singh.
Which season was that again? Remind me.
Philippines,
okay.
But we've seen whenever except for Oolong, whenever tribes decimate themselves early on, they do really well later on. We saw with Tika, right? Tika lost half their tribe early on. We saw with not Palau, Fiji, the original Fiji, when Ravu lost every single challenge. Who won the game? Earl. Who was the front runner? Yao-Man, both from Ravu. And so I don't know. I do not see Sabaya going out episode 3, not with the edit she's getting. I think she goes far.
Last question, Will, just for you, and then we'll wrap this up. What did y'all think of Jeff speaking of his high school basketball days? I zoned out. I literally zoned out. I did not care.
I mean, I was doing Discord Survivor, and there's a tribe swap, so that kind of ate up most of my attention. No, I think it was cute. I don't think it was like a big moment in the episode. It was one. It's like Dee's big toe. You know, it's one of those moments where we're like, oh, this is just fun Survivor. And I'm kind of glad we're getting some like dumb moments in Tribal Council.
I love it. I love it. But for those of you who don't know, if you've never heard, I'm not a Tribal Council fan. It is probably the biggest qualm about me being a Survivor fan. Once Tribal Council starts, unless it's like a live tribal or something, I zone out. I could care less. I'm on my phone. And then someone gets voted out. I don't know what it is. I know a lot of people are like, that's the heart of the episode. I love hearing like them speak. I don't. I zone out every Tribal Council. Like there's so many times I watch like I hate to shout out like another podcast, but I'll listen to another podcast and they'll be talking so in depth about what was said during Tribal Council. And that's just something we don't really cover here, because at least not here. They definitely talk about it on StockWatch and they talk about it on Survivor. I'm trying to shout you out. Definitely on Survivor Social, and got something for you. Check out one of those shows. If we don't cover something here, they are all amazing shows. They're all different in their own ways. Personally, I'm the host of this show, this recap show, and I don't pay attention to tribal. So we like never talk about tribal.
So I've learned that I have these crackpot theories, right? I think of these different scenarios that are wild, out of left field, theories that no sane person would ever rationalize. Randy has something similar, but instead of theories, it's opinions, where he just has like the most random opinions that make no sense. Half the time they contradict with one each other.
They do. I had someone make, they had back in high school, I had someone made like a hate account for me or whatever on Instagram. Like I never found out who made it, but the account was literally called Randy Contradicts. Yeah, because I do that all the time. I am like the king of contradicting myself. One week I'll be like, I don't know. One week I'll be like, oh my gosh, what an amazing move to go through somebody's bag. And then next week I'll come back and I'll be like, how dare you go through somebody's bag? I would never do that in a million years. My opinions change like this because I got short memory. I forget what I had for breakfast this morning. So like I forget my opinions on stuff. Same thing. But if you guys did enjoy this episode, enjoyed having Will back with us, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure to check us out on Spotify at Reality Now. Don't forget that now on Spotify, it's called Reality Now. Check us out there. Leave us a rating. We really do appreciate this. Appreciate it. Share it with your friends, your Survivor-loving buddies. Check us out. Our website, you can see right up there. I can't really point to it. SurvivorNowPodcast.com. You can catch all of it there, all the videos and everything. Plus, we have another Survivor season on the horizon. It is rumored to be coming out this month. Survivor UK tomorrow. This is an announcement. No one has heard about this yet. Tomorrow, we will release the analysts who will be covering Survivor UK. Boo! So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, anything else to say to the masses, Will, before we log off here? It was good to have you back.
It was good
Old
to be
time
back.
say, and we got to have you back another episode this season. Make sure to check them out on StockWatch.
So real quick, tomorrow night there's the Big Brother recap for Reality Now. Huge fight that might be happening. Even if you haven't seen the last few months of Big Brother, I still recommend the episode. Crazy moves happening, and to watch me and Jack talk about it. Unfortunately, Matthew will not be there.
Boom.
Bummer. And then you can check us out Fridays, where me and Jack will do the stock watches. It's pretty much a week of Will West on the Survivor Now podcast.
It is. We should have just called it that. We should have just called it the week of Will.
I know.
No, we should have called it the week of Will and the week of Phil. Phil and Will.
Yeah.
Because Phil is also doing double duty this week. Phil will be on Survivor Social and got something for you.
Yep.
So it is the week of Phil and Will.
Oh, it rolls off so well.
It does. No, it's so amazing. Again, Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next week immediately following episode 3 of Survivor 45. Have a